Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm doing a really interesting series, and the series is called Replacement Singers, Who Did It Better? Next up is Iron Maiden, and this is going to be really interesting because there's a lot of debate. You know, you've got Paul Diano, of course, you've got Bruce Dickinson, you've got Blaze Bayley, and there's a lot of people that have an affinity in a particular singer that they like. So I think it's really fair to go through and just be really candid and honest about each one of them and what they brought to the table. Now, before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be really cool. I have a singing course for you guys interested in singing. You can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. I also have a free singing forum over there as well with 25,000, actually over 25,000 singers, all debating, discussing, negotiating how to get great at singing, particularly singing like this. So I want to get started now. I'm going to do Paul Diano first, and I want to say that there's certain footage that I can only get of some of these singers. So I did my best, and I tried to do my best to make sure everyone was highlighted and showcased in the best light possible. So I'm going to dive right into Paul. Here we go. Okay, I want to stop and pause. So we just saw a fair amount of this. Now, some of the fidelity of this, it is what it is, and I did the best I could with it. But now I want to point a couple things out. First thing is going to be a weird observation. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, just of his approach, the way he sings, some of his vocal tone. Now, obviously, he's heavier, and Phil Lynott was a little smoother in his sound, and they had a different vibe going on, both British, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know if anyone's really thought of it in those terms, but there is a limited range to his sound. But there's something to be said for the original singer that helped make the band popular initially. So let's remember the criteria for our questions of who did it better, okay? The first thing is what did he bring to the table initially, right? How long did he stay in the band? What creative contribution did he bring to the band? And what was the total longevity of the singer, etc.? And did they go off to do something else that was significant, or was it only the original band they were in? So there's lots of questions to ask as we're listening through this stuff, because we're going to ask this for each singer as they come along. So. See, can't you kind of hear Phil Lynott live, kind of gruffy and Thin Lizzy, you know? The boys are back in town. Like, you know, if you had something kind of heavier, if you were to sing it, kind of has that kind of vibe to it, to me. And he'd be like, hey, the Bajou, hey, yeah. Phil Lynott kind of did that vibe too. Now, I got to say something about this. Another British artist. Because of his limited range, a lot of singers, to kind of show off or get metal, they'll sing something heavy and falsetto, kind of like Rob Halford. Now, Rob Halford did a lot of stuff in head voice. You listen to Painkiller and stuff, and it's just heavy duty, all reinforced head voice stuff. But right? It's very kind of, to me, Judas Priest in that sound. If you really go, we're going to listen to it again. And there's a Rob Halfordy kind of influence for that for me. And I'm not trying to just make attachments to other singers to make it sound, but I'm just bringing an influence so that you can take a look at this and go, yeah, I could see that. That's kind of interesting. Because we're going to talk about that with some of the other singers as well in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you do hear that. Sort of like, again, like the Phil Lynott side in the lower register. I mean, he's got his own thing, guys. You know, I'm not trying to like stigmatize him to saying that he sounds exactly like these other guys. But I think it's important to note that. So as we're going to go on, Bruce is going to be next up to the plate. Bruce, here comes Bruce after this. Now, I want to point out for you singers out there a couple things. The first thing is, on that one, he goes, and you can hear the register break as he's going up. Now, what we teach at Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy is to strengthen the passaggio so you can't hear that register break and grow that section of the voice, because that section of the voice is what could help him, or could have helped him back in the day, whatever, build his upper mid voice to transition from his highest note into his head voice register to have one long powerful note rather than just having a belted chest sound, no mid voice, no upper mid voice, only notes. I think his highest note is maybe an A or even a B, I don't know, B4. And then he transitions to his screams, but there's really nothing in between, okay? Halford's like that too. He did quite a bit of that too. So let's bip on over. Now, what I noticed, I know the song's faster, but what I noticed is an immediate command of the voice to where the energy level just goes really up. Now, Paul did a good job with his range, etc., but Bruce has a lot more range and a lot more to contribute in that department for, having more range. The other thing too is that his command of the voice, now I know it's been said, we've discussed this before, one of his greatest influences is Ronnie James Dio. Now, you can't really tell that here because his vibrato's really wide and whatnot, but I know we're going to come up on some stuff here. But he certainly raised the bar of energy, stepped into his own uniqueness of the sound while maintaining the integrity of Iron Maiden, and contributed significantly to the creativity and the songwriting. In fact, from Number of the Beast on, I mean, a lot of the albums that they did was some of their biggest, greatest selling stuff and longest lasting stuff. So I think that's also worth noting, okay? Okay, so we have, yeah, night, rainbows, yeah! He's got that Dio thing. So you hear him kind of bring that in. Now, we've also talked about the significance of frontmanning, or the frontmanship, or frontwomanship, depending on who we're talking about here, right? And he certainly has a crazy command of charisma on stage. So I'm not going to say he's better than Paul in the charisma department, but he certainly has a command of the stage. And it's not like he's walking in with any kind of timidity at all. He has utmost confidence as he's going through this. So that's also really significant. Now, I know that this isn't their best show. In fact, I think it was Rock in Rio or something later. When he cleaned up, he got sober and this, that. He's even better later, in some of the, maybe not so much, late like now, but in the Rock in Rio one, there's another performance. I couldn't get it from the publishing company. They won't allow me to use it. So, and there may be some better Paul Di'Anno stuff. I don't know, but I know that it's just, wow, really good charisma, crazy energy. All the notes are hit, and so, a tough act to follow. And did he raise the bar from Paul Di'Anno? I'd say yes. Did he contribute considerably, creatively? Absolutely. Did he have a longevity? Absolutely. Did he go on with solo stuff after that? I know he had some solo stuff that he did that was actually really good, but it just didn't really, I guess it's sort of like, when you think of the Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger doing solo stuff, people didn't take to it for whatever reason, you know. And I know that it was produced well and it sounded good and good songs, but it just wasn't Iron Maiden, so the Maiden fans wanted him back in Maiden. So anyway, let's continue. Here we go. Now, a couple things too. He's able to kind of roll into his mix voice. Side, side! You know, he's able to get into that mixed voice space, even though he does really try to pull up his chest voice as high as he can, and then you can sort of hear him mix a little bit as he starts to go up into his upper register. He doesn't do it that much. He does do it like on Run to the Hills and some other stuff on the high notes, especially in the studio recording stuff. It's a little tough when you lock the voice down after you've been belting so hard to get through the passaggio. If you've oversung the bottom, it's really hard to relax and release to get through the passaggio and use the passaggio as the bridging point to match the tonal qualities of your chest voice in your head voice to sound like one long, powerful, belted chest voice sound. But he's really good at it, sometimes better than others, you know. Good tone. Yeah! There's our Dio. Yeah, yeah! Okay, so this is all really good. We hear, I mean, like I said, he's really stepped up to the plate. Let's move on. See, just what I saw, like that, saw. You can hear him kind of roll into the head voice sound. So he's kind of gone on from his chest sound into his head voice sound. And, you know, really good authority on the bottom, too, as he's really selling the story. See, he's kind of going in like a mixed voice thing there too. Great scream. Just to show you how macho and studly he is, he picks up his guitar, throws him on his jacket, and he's gonna go. The only thing missing, I think, is you should start fencing right there, and then when he's all done getting his own plane and fly himself home. That's Bruce, man. That's great. I mean, this is so good. Like top of the game stuff here. You know, I did a version of this. I'll put my Run to the Hills Part 2. I'll put that in the description. You can see how I did. And Gabriella also did. We did a duet of 2 Minutes to Midnight. I'll put both of those in the description. You can see how we stack up. We had a lot of fun. And knowing that Bruce liked Dio, I went ahead and sang mine even more like Dio when I did my parts. And then we took it up, I think, a full step. So it's actually a full step, 2 notes higher than the original. So it's kind of hard to sing like Dio and that high And then Gabriella just crushed it with her parts too. So put in there, hey, be brutal. Tell us we suck. Tell us we're great. Tell us how we did. I'll put that in the description. You tell us what we did. I want to move on a little bit because, again, I don't want to look like I'm over favoring Bruce because, but I only had so much footage. And so, again, the Paul Diano stuff, I only had so much of that. I want to get into Blaze Bayley in a minute. But so let's continue finishing out Bruce. Okay, so here's Blaze, and one of the things that kind of confuses me, by the way, Blaze is really good, but I want to say something. Remember, did this artist raise the bar as a replacement singer? Very, very important question. Did they have the longevity with the band as the original singer, in this case, Dickinson as the replacement singer, because he would be kind of really the main singer, and what did he contribute creatively and so forth? So you kind of already know the answer to that, and I'm open to comments, guys. Bring it on. Please post respectfully, but let's check this out. Now, he doesn't have the same girth and force and energy as Bruce did, at least in this section of this song. And again, guys, we can't grade everybody on these tiny little sections. So if you've got some other footage or something we should see of this stuff, please also put that in the comment section so we can be really fair about this. So that's great. That what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy. Just what I saw. Okay, I'm gonna go past this because it's all lower note stuff. So let's here we go. Pretty good. Cool. Now, in some ways, I like that tone better than Bruce's tone, and let me explain myself. I'm a big fan of Glenn Hughes, and hey, yeah, and so he's got that sound. It's called the raised laryngeal bit. Hey, yeah, they'll laugh when she said Ben. Oh yeah, right. So he's got this really cool raised laryngeal position sound, which is awesome. He's got good tone when he's doing it, good distortion, and his pitch is really cool, and a lot of power and great energy. I think that's cool. Now, I don't know when this was recorded and the distance and how long, they had between this, but let me say that this recording, in my opinion, vocally is nowhere near as good as what we just heard, and it's kind of disappointing. But again, it was all the footage I could get. So if you guys have some other footage you can show me of Blaze, singing great, I'd like to hear it. This isn't necessarily one of them, right? See, this is a hard, it's a hey, it doesn't have that cool, previous tone that sounded like he was in better voice in the last concert. Yeah, I mean, guys, this is nowhere near the ability and the quality and everything else that we just saw from Dickinson. And I'm kind of surprised. I was talking with Gabriella about this the other day. She's a huge Maiden fan. I mean, massive Maiden fan. And she's like an encyclopedia when it comes to like knowing a lot of stuff about the band. So this was even more of her comment than mine, but I agreed with her. There was a lot of really good singers they could have brought in. Not that he's not great, but you had Michael Kiske. He could have come in from Halloween, stepped into this and done a really amazing job, I think. Maybe not as good as Bruce, maybe different. Maybe he could have. I don't know. I didn't get to see him. You had Andre Matos, who's a Brazilian singer, whatever. He could have also stepped into this and probably done an amazing job too. Maybe they just wanted to keep it kind of a British thing. I don't know. But Blaze, I don't know, man. I don't think he raised the bar. I don't think he raised brought up the creativity. Certainly not the longevity of the band. But let's continue. Oops. Okay, so the band is kicking butt. And when we talked about the energy getting raised for Bruce, compared to Paul Diano in the first thing, the band is every bit kicking butt and creating a lot of energy, but the charisma and the energy here of Blaze is just not up to par for what happened with Bruce. Correct me. Hey man, call me out, show me something that I haven't seen, but that's sort of my take on it as I'm going through this. I'm trying to be really fair about all this stuff. Anyway, hopefully gang, you'll post in the comment sections respectfully. Let me know your thoughts. Who did it better, man? That's the question. And I've got a few more of these coming your way. Don't forget to check out, Gabriella and my version of 2 Minutes to Midnight. Again, my version of part 2 of the other Maiden song. I should know this. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of these today. But anyway, Run to the Hills is what I meant to say. Sorry. But so please post and definitely stick around and check out my next video.